Good evening. As many of you know, I am Maggie Shoddy, one of the kindergarten teachers here at Marysville Elementary. I am pleased to be presenting some information to you tonight on the topic of religion in schools. The other day, two of you asked if I would take a look at our board policies. While I am not a policymaker, I did do some research on the current religious laws to help make everyone aware. I am not going to tell you what I think should be done with religion in our public school or public schools across America, but I do want to inform you of current laws and information that the United States Department of Education, USDE, has recently published. I had three main articles that I used for research on this topic. You will see them cited with the information I obtained. They are posted on my last slide, and they are in your board packets. These are great websites full of information if you need to go back. The first thing I want to talk to you about tonight is some significant cases throughout the years. The first case that I thought was significant is the Zurach versus Clausen case from 1952. This case ruled that public schools would have to excuse students during the day so that they could attend religious classes away from school. Now, in the 2019 Pew Research Center survey, there were only 1 in 10 teens in a public school that left school for religious activities. Another case that was important was the Engel versus Vitale case from 1962. This case stated that school-sponsored prayer violated the Establishment Clause. School prayer is one of the most controversial issues, and we'll talk more about that later. Since 1962, the Supreme Court has made even more changes. One of them, occurring in the year 2000, prohibited school-sponsored prayers at high school football games. Again, the 2019 Pew Research Center survey results stated that only 8% of teens have ever seen their teacher in a public school lead a prayer in class. Next, in 1958, Wallace versus Jaffrey, the Alabama law setting aside a moment for silent prayer or meditation in public schools was overturned. All the research I did on these cases came from the Pew Research Center page with an article titled Religion in the Public Schools. This article was very helpful and gave a plethora of court cases and the rulings on them. Next, we'll move to religion in the classroom. Religious activities versus teaching about religion. Now, there's a big difference about these two things. USDE says public schools may not provide religious instructions, but they may teach about religion. And the Pew Research Center says on several occasions, members of the court have suggested that public schools may teach the Bible as literature, include lessons about the role of religion and religious institutions in history, or even offer courses on comparative religion. Okay, so as you can see, religious activities would be like a Bible study or a worship, things that are designed to encourage religious values. Those things are not allowed. On the other hand, teaching about religion is. That would be things like teaching the Bible as literature, or teaching about different religions and comparing them. Okay, while religious activities are not supported by the Supreme Court rulings, teaching about religion is. Next, we get to prayer in school. Now, this is one of the most controversial topics. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court banned school-sponsored prayer in public schools in a 1962 decision, saying that it violated the First Amendment. But students are allowed to meet and pray on school grounds as long as they do so privately and don't try to force others to do the same. In this article from NPR Radio Kansas, President Trump goes on to say that the government must never stand between people and God. Our current administration updated the 2003 guidance about prayer in school, stating, teachers and other public school officials may not lead their class in prayer, read a devotion from the Bible, or any other religious activity while they are in their official capacity. Okay, whether or not to allow prayer in school is a topic that has been heavily debated. The USDE site has many different scenarios where prayer is protected at public schools. I have listed just a few here. First, students may pray during non-instructional time. This includes, but isn't limited to, things like praying before meals or praying at recess. Next, students are allowed to express their beliefs about religion in their homework. This can be oral homework, written homework, artwork, etc. And this has to be done without discrimination on that student. These are just a couple of ways that the USDE resource talks about allowing religious expression in schools. At graduation ceremonies, prayer is allowed, but school officials need to clarify that it is the speaker's choice and not the school's speech so that they avoid any confusion. The school itself cannot organize a baccalaureate ceremony, but the school can make their facilities available for all private groups. Finally, activities like prayer at the pole or a religious club may meet before or after school as long as it is student-led and organized. These groups have the same access to school facilities as any other non-curricular group. School-wide holiday programs. Holiday programs are something that can be easily overlooked. As you're reading the quote on the screen, the court has ruled in two cases, Bachman v. West High School and Doe v. Duncanville Independent School District, that no student can be forced to play music or sing music that offends their religious beliefs. Schools need to be sensitive that students may feel pressured to participate, and schools need to allow students to opt out of the program. Next, we get to the Equal Access Act of 1984. Now, this act was passed in 1984, and it required that public schools not discriminate on the basis of religion or political viewpoint in recognizing and supporting extracurricular activities. So, in other words, if the facilities are available for one organization, they need to be available for any other organization. Both the USDE and the Pew Research Center resources have lots of good information on the Equal Access Act and the guidelines that go along with it. Freedom of speech. Although the Constitution forbids public school officials from directing or favoring prayer in their official capacities, students and teachers do not shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. I think it's important to remember that while school-sponsored or teacher-led religious activities go against Supreme Court rulings, student-led activities are a different story. It's also important to remember that First Amendment rights are not taken away. Students are free to talk about prayer and religion during the school day, just as they would any other topic. When off-duty, teachers and administrators are free to exercise their right of religion in worship or other faith-based activities. Again, here are the three resources that I used to present my information to you tonight. I hope that you understand that I was presenting facts and not my personal opinion. All of these resources answered a lot of questions that I had, so I hope that you would use these as a start to further your research if you still have questions. Thank you.